session of Q2 and first half a year. Q2 was a bit less good than we thought. We knew before that it should be tougher than Q1. We had a positive calendar effect in Q1 due to Easter, and that came out negative in Q2, that we know from the beginning. Then we also have quite high effects on the currencies. So in the end, I was hoping for 3-4% organic growth in local currencies, and we ended up with 1 point something. So it was less good than planned. The market was very tough. I thought for a long time now that the market will be better, but we still don't see any big signs on that. And I think that all this worrying things and news all the time about duties and tariffs and no one knows really what will happen and so on put a wet blanket on the market. And I think that we will continue to see at least 1 or 2 more quarters with a tough market situation. We're pretty sure that we continue to take market shares, and we continue to invest. We have the same speed investing in both sales, marketing, and automatization, about warehouses and IT and so on. And we will not pull on the brake because of this. We will continue the same way. One very good thing, hopefully, you never know that before, of course, but one thing I'm very happy for is the acquisition of Cotton Classic that give us a very, very strong position in several countries. So we have been the market leader in Sweden, Norway, Finland, Benelux for quite a long time. Now we are very, very clear market leader in Switzerland, also Austria after this. And we come in as number 3 or 4 in Germany. And they also have quite a lot activity in former Eastern countries. So Czech Republic is a big country for them. We are not there at all. Same with Hungary, Slovenia. So it's also open up Eastern Europe a bit for us, where we haven't been. And this is also much easier for us than it was to acquire BTC. BTC is a very similar operation, but since they were outside EU, it took us quite a long time before we could start introducing our own brands. And the upside, both in BTC and Cotton Classic, is really to introduce our own brand that have more than double gross margin than they have on the distributed brands today. And here we could be much, much quicker. So we actually introduce not full collections, but partly of Click and Harvest and Printer and Cut and Back already now in their September catalog. So we were quite time pressed in the end of the acquisition because they release their collections twice a year, and that's September and January. And if we wouldn't be ready for 1st of September, we couldn't have done anything before January. But that was quite a lot of work, but I think it's very, very important for the position in future. Yes. So, better?
Yeah.
Okay. I will not repeat this. Nothing really changed here. You can say after the quarter, it's not a very big thing, but after the quarter, we sign also an agreement now on a new warehouse in Ireland. So we will also be much more active in Ireland. And I think it's also an important step that for us, because it's not a big market, but it's, again, inside EU still. And the market in Ireland is dominated by companies in UK, which give them a lot of problem with tariffs and duties and so on. So that will start hopefully in October. Yeah, nothing have changed here really. So I jump in. Here I have a funny story. That or not, we should have that on photo, but I forgot that. You know, IFK beat Guys on Monday, I think it was. And we produced a t-shirt with a big mackerel and wrote under a cod. or a torsk. Cod is not so funny when you use English, but en torsk. That was very appreciated. And it's nice to see. Here you can also see the importance of speed and stock, because the sales was starting directly after the game, and the day after they have sold, I think it was 2,300 shirts. So pretty nice. Yeah, this is the same. Second quarter then, as I already said, very, very tough market, and I actually think it was developed in general in the wrong way compared with Q1. Acquisition of Cotton Classic I talked about, and I think it's a very, very important thing for us, for especially for future growth in the Eastern Europe as well. Then we have one thing that we don't know where it will end, and that the Department of Justice in the US have started an investigation where they claim we have done wrong, or it's not any criminal investigation, but we have different, they count the number of employees in a different way than we did. So we have a possibility that we can be forced to pay back some or all or nothing. We actually don't know of the loans that was forgiven during COVID. And the total amount is $5.4 million. We have not taken anything into the P&L because, again, we don't know if it will be zero or if it will be all, or if it will be in the middle, and we don't know if it take 3 months or 12 months or 2 years. But we think it's such an important information, so we want to inform about it to be transparent. So it's not come as a surprise like this if something happened. And the currency affected us, of course, a lot, especially on the P&L this time. Last report it was on the balance sheet that had the biggest effects, but now it's on the P&L. Strengthened presence in the Central Europe and I would say also Eastern Europe with Cotton Classic. And you can say right now we hope to have the permission from the competition authorities in Austria this week.
18th of August.
18th of August.
That's the last day when they need to inform that they want deeper investigation.
Yeah. But we don't see any high risk that we have a no, but it also says a little bit about what kind of market shares we start to get, and when they even should judge it. And Cotton Classic have a fantastic platform, actually, much better than ours, and also B2Cs. So that will also be interesting if we can also take that the other way. And as I said, we're now working very, very hard to introduce as much of our own brands as possible, as fast as possible. And this is, again, much more easier than it was in B2C, since we already have stocks in a lot of EU countries that we can use also for Cotton Classic. Otherwise, it's a very similar business to B2C. Maybe also I should add there that for sure they will take down our operating margin for a while, because they come in on 5.5–6% in operating margin, and it's such a big turnover on more than 1 billion SEK. So it will affect the operating margin. So that isn't any surprise for you, and it's not will not be for us either. And it will take a few years to take them up. 1.3% in organic growth. Again, as I said, I'm not happy with it, but the expectation from my own side was more 3–4%. So it was not very high that quarter during to Easter, but it's still a little bit lower than I thought. And the currency we have talked about, promo channel was down 2%, retail by 8%. That was in SEK down. Yeah, so it's not. And operating profit amounted to 41 then, and more operating margin 10.5. And I think that it's still an okay result actually, because again we continue to investing and take market shares and spend money. We were also affected a bit about in May, 1st of May I think it was, the first company in New Group that are New Holland, the Netherlands, that are quite big entity for us, was the first company that installed high robotics, totally new picking, and they had at the same time there was the first company out with a new ERP system. So that was quite a high risk, and it went okay, but it was affected in May, June. July they were 100% up, running everything. But now we're quite happy to have done it, because now it will be easier to implement both high robotics in other warehouses, but also the new ERP system in other companies. But I had a very, very tired CEO there. So 2.3 billion, decreased then in SEK 4.1%, but again organic in local 1.3. Here's not so much to comment. I can say maybe that on the retail side here, especially retail, it's still a very, very tough situation. You have a few clear winners the last quarters, and that's, for example, Ullared, and it's the low price chains. All other are struggling a lot when you talk sports and also when you talk home furniture gifts. So it's a quite tough situation in the retail side, and I would say that corporate is more stable than. The good thing, I think, on the retail side is that most of the clients have much lower stock positions themselves than they had 1 or 2 years ago. So when it starts speeding up, I think we will see quite high effect from it. Yeah, there's not maybe so much to comment. Gross profit down a bit, and it's not price decreases and not increased buying prices. It's a big effect there is the trading took a bigger part of the total turnover that quarter. And as you know, since before, trading is very up and down. So the gross margin and then the other business are stable as it is today. We were affected, I don't have any amount, but we were a little bit affected by tariffs in the US, some of the US companies. I don't know, a couple of million SEK maybe. Yeah. So it was not a big effect, but even if we really have worked hard and fast to move production, we are not able to move 100% of it. So you have some effects, but not any big ones. And you will have some effect the coming quarters as well. But again, not huge amount, but it's a couple of million, I guess, each quarter. Yeah. And here, yeah, the only thing you can comment here is that on the operating profit, I must say that corporate are very stable if you compare with the times of retail and gifts and home. And gifts and home is also majority retail. Had much tougher quarter than corporate. Cash flow is not so much to say about. We have planned, and I think, no, I'm sure I said already fourth quarter last year that we will go into a period with less good cash flow, depending on that we're building up the stock and we continue the investment in warehouses and IT. So it was no surprise that either. If we look on half the year, you had a sales increase by 2.3%, and that is in SEK. So I don't have that in my head. What was it in local currencies? Do you have that, Anna?
Sorry.
The growth in local currencies, January, June, because 2.4 must be in SEK.
Yes, 2.4 is in SEK. It's sorry for. Is it a quarter?
No, half a year. Yeah. The quarter I had.
Sorry, give me a sec. I just lost it. Please.
Yeah, you can find. And promo then 3.9 and retail 1.4. And you will have soon what to put this in local currencies, but I think 5 something.
4.8% is in local currency.
That was nearly 5.5, around 5. Yeah, here's not so much to say, but I mean the half-year figures, of course, looks better than the second quarter, since we had a very strong first quarter. Yeah, gross profit 48.9 compared with 49.3. So as I said before, it's stable. External costs increase a bit, and that's mainly again sales and marketing, but also IT is a quite huge investment to change all the ERP systems and everything, and of course automatizations of warehouses, and then operating profit on 453. And here you can say, yeah, not so much to say there either, actually. Balance sheet can come at 6.5 million in equity, which give a yeah, it's a strong balance sheet, you can say. And then the first quarter was there affected by currency with, was it 500 million?
Yeah,
if I remember correctly. So the big difference in equity now compared with end of the year is actually currency, or it's the whole effect, you can say.
Yeah, and also we have a dividend.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, and cash flow still stable, I would say. Rolling 12 months then 9.6 in sales, and an operating profit on just above 1.2, which is 12.8%. And we will of course work as hard as we can to get up. I'm not very happy with 12.8%. I must say, even if I know why. Yeah, I think I have said all of this, and I think also the important thing for us to see, we will not put the brake on cost before, as long as we see it, we take market shares, even if it continues to be a tough market 1 or 2 or 3 quarters. Cotton Classic we've talked a lot about. I think we have a very strong position for the future, actually stronger than a year ago, which will become even stronger with Cotton Classic. So I think we have big opportunities both in retail and in promo. The launch of Teamwear in US is still doing quite well, and it's going, I would say, as planned, or even maybe a bit better than planned. I'm also very happy for our balance sheet, because most of the competitors today have a much tougher situation, which means that they can't invest in the same way as we are doing. And we will continue to look at more acquisitions as well. That was basically Q2 and first 6 months. I open up for questions.
Niklas Skogman, Nordea. A couple of questions, please. You mentioned that the gross margin was relatively strong, but if you look at Q1, you had an even larger impact from your trading operations, and then the gross margin was up 10 basis points, and now in this quarter, with a lower impact from the trading business, it was down 100 basis points. So,
but the gross margin in the trading business is variation a lot. So we take orders down to, I would say, 8-9%, and when we have really good gross margin in the trading business, can be up to 30. So it depends very much on that. You can say, for example, the biggest order now it's a few years old, but was 400,000 units of the same polo piqué to Costco, and then I'm very happy to close that deal on 8-10%. So it's a variation also inside there a lot.
Okay.
But in general, you can say that I think we end in general on a gross margin maybe 16, 17, 18% in average, but it's still very different in the different quarters.
Okay, thank you for that. And then on the, you mentioned that BTC had been a bit more tricky than you perhaps thought when it came to bringing in your own assortment. So what level of your own assortment do you currently have at BTC? And I assume it started from zero.
Up to now, it's more or less only harvest printer and not full collections. And it will be full collections from mid-January next year. But I shouldn't say it has been more tricky, but it has taking longer time since they were outside EU. I mean, it's no idea for us to import from the warehouse in Netherlands to launch in UK with double duties and so on. So okay. It's more that than.
And where will you be in terms of share of volumes, you think, by June next year for BTC of your own assortment?
With in the end of next year, I hope we can have up to 20%.
Okay.
But you can say today it's the interesting thing is that printers that are the biggest brands there, they are brand number 10 today. If you look on all the brands they are selling in sales, but they are number 4 in gross margin in money. So it's a huge impact if we can move this.
Okay. And where do you need, or would you like to go with the Cotton Classics acquisition in terms of your own assortment?
I would say that's the same in BTC and Cotton Classics. Hopefully not up to maybe 40%, because we should also remember that they distribute also low price brands that gives them a lot of clients, and we don't have those products and we don't want to develop those products. So we will continue with that, and that's the strength for example, Cotton Classic in future is that they have the full range. Now they are much more oriented to low priced basics.
All right. Thank you. I'll hand it over to
Emanuel Jansson, Danske Bank. So staying on Cotton Classic then, in terms of profitability, I think you stated around 5-6% EBIT margin, right? Yeah, and where you think the potential is there to raise the profitability over time? 15. And
but they will never be neither them or BTC can come up to 20-25 because to be up there, which we are with several of our corporate companies. For example, I think Netherlands has been average 25 for a couple of years, but that we can't reach with the external brand standing for 60% or something. But I think we can get them up to 50.
And perhaps difficult to estimate, but how long you think that will take?
3-4 years, I guess. You know, it's quite a long process because first we should have the stock. Then we should sell in samples to all the clients so they have in their showroom, and then they should start selling. So I mean, it's and in the past sometimes we have underestimated the time a little bit. So far, when we have established countries or made acquisitions, I think we have succeeded in all cases on corporates, 100% score, but quite often it's 1 or 2 years longer time than we thought when we did it. And it's the same on when we establish from scratch. And hopefully we have learned something about now, so we are a little bit more defensive in how long time it will take, for example, in Ireland. Or more realistic, maybe.
Great, that's very clear. And you think that you can use Cotton Classic also to maybe find some synergies via the teamwear establishment in Germany, for example?
Yes, but it's a little bit tricky because you can say that the current distribution is mainly in mid and North Europe, the sport chains like Intersport and Stadium and so on, if you take Swedish examples. And in Germany, you have one big player, or you have 2 big players, you have 11 Team Sport and one more. And 11 Team Sport also belong to Intersport, even if it's not a shop. and it's not very popular to put in 50 or 40. I think it's 45,000 clients they have. Cotton Classic, if I remember correctly. They will not be extremely happy if 45,000 new clients all over Europe get access to the teamwear, but we can do it partly at least. But I don't say we could introduce the whole teamwear collection through them without negative effects on the chains.
Okay, great. And moving to the US market, still seems a bit uncertain how everything will develop in the near term.
Yeah.
But would you say that this has postponed any of your investments in the US regarding teamwear and etc.?
No, I mean, we don't postpone and we don't put the foot on the brakes either, and we're still have the same planning with establishment, one more warehouse in US, South US, probably Texas, as soon as we can and so on. So I prefer, I mean, I think it's 27 years we've been public now. And I think the development during those 27 years is quite good. So it's better it's better to take it easy. If we make a little bit less profit, we should still remember that we are quite profitable, even if this quarter was down. I prefer to have a few quarters that are tougher and standing very strong in the coming 5, 6, 10 years. So it doesn't change our plan at all. We have, as I said before, we have signed a new warehouse on Ireland. We will sign in South US as soon as we find the right facilities and so on. So we continue the same speed.
And where are you now in your teamwear establishment in the US, you would say?
Still step one, I would say. But we have gained some very good clients. One quite biggest challenger, for example, and we start gaining more and more resellers. But that, of course, step one is really to gain our clients, and then step two is that our client then should convince. In this case, the school. I normally say the clubs, but it's more school business in US than here.
Yeah.
And most often they are under contract with some other brands then for in time. The time is up to 5 years, same as the clubs here. So I mean, it will take 5 years because we even have had the chance to offer everybody we want, if you're talking to end users. And it's the same in Europe, but then it's more sports club. It's like Hammarby, for example, that we. I think our agreement with them now is to 2030, if I remember correct. So no one else can get in at that time, and it's opposite with other clubs. So we have a long list in Europe for the first 2-3 divisions in each country when their contracts are ending, and we will try to do the same with the schools, athletic clubs, schools in US.
Okay, great. And perhaps you were mentioning, I think, in the CEO wording that you are seeing some positive market signals, and we can also see that you're starting to also increase your inventory levels. Yeah. Can you maybe give us some more colors on that?
But I'm pretty sure it will turn around, but I have no clue when. And I thought it should come quicker than it have done, and I didn't expect that we should thought that the second quarter in the general in the market should be tougher than the first. But if you see our clients don't have big stocks today, so as soon as the sales start for them, they need to start ordering better again or more again, which was not the situation if you go back for 1 year or something when a lot of them have too big stocks themselves, especially on retail. The only thing that we know now in Scandinavia is that it's a little bit too much winter garments after this winter on stock in the retail chains, but it's a much better situation. And then you can say also people start talking more positive, at least, even if we don't see it in the figures. And on corporate, I think it has stabilized. We were down 2%, I think it was, and that I think is quite good in this situation. And the only public ones we can see there in Sweden is a league that are a big client to us, and I think they were down 3.9 or something in the last report, if I remember correctly. On the retail, it's much tougher. I don't know the sales exactly, but I looked briefly on the stock rate, the stock value for Adidas, Puma, and Nike, and it was not such a good development this year. So it has been tough there.
Great. And maybe final, well, then you mentioning this high robotics. I think previously I mainly have AutoStore solution.
Yeah.
Is there any particular reason or?
Can you help me, Anna?
Well, high robotics is a newer automation. High robotics is a newer automation system, and in existing warehouses, it could be easier and more cost-effective to have high robotics. But we're also looking into have it in completely new warehouses. But we want to try both and compare and see which is the best on the long run.
But I think if also that high robotics is a higher grade of automatization when we flow the goods in and out than if I
Yeah,
remember
and it's
correctly.
also more flexible.
Yeah.
If you increase the warehouse and build it up so you have a larger area, then it's easier with high robotics to put in more robots than extending an existing AutoStore.
Några mer frågor här inifrån? Okay, then we move on to the question that has been sent to us. It's a fair amount. The first one is, turbulence on tariff, has it caused any inefficiencies for you to date change the overall sourcing landscape? That is tougher or easier to get volumes from where you want them?
No, I wouldn't say that, but of course it takes time to move so much production from some countries to other countries. But it has not been a huge problem for us. If it have cost something, it have cost a little bit on the lead times, that we have a little bit longer lead times right now than we had before in the production, because it's not easy for factories located in other countries either to suddenly have a lot of order that they didn't know about 1 year ago or 2 years ago.
Could you talk a little bit about the trend for craft and craft shoes?
Yeah, it's continued to increase. We knew that it will be a long race, but we continue to increase all the time. And now we also launch, I think if it's 10 months, we also launch indoor, where we think we also will have easier actually to get in, since we have a lot of teams and clubs in indoor in another way than you can create on running. So, for example, we have several teams in both basketball and handball in not only the Swedish league, in Bundesliga in Germany and so on. And we just signed the basketball national team in Austria. We have a Swedish handball team and so on. So we think that will be much quicker. But we continue.
Thank you. Is the Cotton Classic acquisition now closed? And if so, when will you consolidate it into New Wave?
It's closed in the way that we have made all agreements and in that perspective. But it's, as Göran said before, it's 18th of August, where it's the last day that the competition authorities in Austria can protest. And if they don't, which we expect they don't, then we will take it in from 1st of September.
Thank you. Could I please ask for a bit more detail on why sports and leisure growth was weaker in its corresponding margin? How is it affected by Easter? I thought that was more of a corporate effect.
Yeah, definitely Eastern is more on corporate, but retail has been very, very weak. You can say now I think in July is the first time where the sports index actually were a little bit up. Before that, I think it was down for 13 quarters in a row. So the environment on retail has been much worse than on corporate.
Thank you. Do you see any call for actions to improve the result from the gift section?
I beg your pardon?
Do you see any call for actions to improve the results for the gift section?
Yeah, we try to take action there every day. So, but not any big changes. But yeah.
And a follow-up there. New Wave has increased the staff under the period. Will there be any change in number of employees in Sweden this year?
Any change in?
Number of employees in Sweden this year?
Not much.
Not much. Okay.
It's the increasing of number of people, for example, is a big part sales, and that we don't need more salespeople in Sweden, or in Scandinavia we don't need more. It's very focused on US and Germany. It will be on Ireland and so on. And then you can say that during this quarter we also have an effect on warehouses, where we have to take in more people when we make the automatizations. We have to deliver to the clients in a decent way, even if we have, and then you should fill up all the systems and so on. So actually every automatization we do, you got a short-term negative effect, the number of employees, before you reach efficiency, and instead you go the other direction, have less and less.
Moving on to the last one here. You mentioned targeted one-time campaigns impacting market and spending in quarter.
Yeah.
Does this type of investment pay off in the current market, and did you see the impact you were after? And will there be the same approach in the coming quarters?
It's not any big things planned the coming quarters right now, and it's mainly two bigger events. It was New York Marathon, where we did a lot about craft shoes, and it was Stockholm Marathon. And they will not come back. If they pay off or not, we know 3-4 years later. I mean, we don't run the marketing and the campaigns to increase the sales those days. It's brand building, more you can say. So, but I think it does, because if we have continued growth most years for a very long time, but it's not building brand is not working the way as another retail company that can make an ad and give a discount and they sell day one. This is more long-term marketing.
Thank you. That was all the questions we had, so thank you so much for the presentation.
Thank you all. Thanks. Kan jag bara få prata svenska igen då, eller?
Ja, vi kan prata fritt.